Hey guys, welcome to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, we'll be drafting out this button down blouse that you can see on your screen. So we'll start with the front. For the front, I'm going to take out the button allowance. I'll take out 1.5 inches from the start of the pattern paper down to the base of the pattern paper. After doing that, I'll connect all the dots into a straight line. The next thing I'll do is to start taking my points. The first point is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist in front. Okay, so from my shoulder to my waist at the front is 16 inches, while from my shoulder to my waist at the back is 15 inches. So the difference between my front waist point and my back waist point is 1 inches. So I'll take 15 inches and the length of my blouse is going to be 27 inches. So after doing that, I'll rule straight lines across all the points. I'll label my lines. The first line bust line, second one under bust line, third one waistline, and the last one is the blouse length. The next thing I'll do is to take half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with, which is 7 inches. On the 7 inches dot, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and I'll slant from there into the neckline area. But before I slant, I'm going to take my neck width, which is going to be 3 inches. So I indicated the 3 inches with a dot. What I'll do is to slant from the shoulder slope to the 3 inches like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my armhole depth. My armhole depth is 7 inches. So I'll go down from the shoulder slope by 7 inches. To get your armhole depth, you're going to divide your bust circumference by 6. And whatever you get, you add 1.5 inches to that measurement. So what I'm doing now is connecting from the shoulder slope to the 7 inches. And then I ruled a straight line across that point, which is going to be the chest line. After doing that, I'll go down by 3.5 inches, which is going to be my neck depth. So you can determine how deep you want your neckline to be. I'll extend the neck depth into this button allowance, okay? So I went down by 3 inches. I just connected from the neck depth to the button allowance. Next now I'll do is to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll take the 4 inches on the blouse length, on the waistline, on the other bust line, and on the bust line, and I'll connect the 4 dots into a straight line like this. After doing that, I'll be taking half an inch on both sides of the straight line, and I'll do that on the waistline. So half an inch to the left and half an inch to the right. On the bust line, I'll go down by 1 inch and then I'll connect from the waist to the 1 inch like this. On the base of the blouse, I'll go up by 4 inches and then I'm going to connect from the waistline to the 4 inches mark like this. After taking the waist dart, the next thing I'll do is to place my tape on the straight line, and what I have is 7 inches. I'm going to divide the 7 inches into 2, which is going to be 3.5 inches. I'll indicate the 3.5 inches with a dot. On that dot, I'll go in by half an inch. I'll also indicate the half an inch with a dot. On the chest line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that. After doing that, I'll use my ruler to connect from the shoulder slope to the half an inch and from the half an inch to the dot that I have on the chest line like this. I'll be taking a shoulder dart for this blouse because it's a sleeveless blouse and you can see that the shoulder area is not as wide as what I have on the pattern paper, so I want to contour it a little bit. So what I'll do is to place my tape on the space that I have from the shoulder to the neck width. So what is left there is 4 inches. I'll divide the 4 inches into 2. So I marked 2 inches, which is the center of the 4 inches. I'll slant from the 2 inches to the bust line. That is the dart leg on the bust line like this. After doing that, I'm going to take 1 inch on this armhole area. So I'm contouring with 1 inch. You can do 0.75 inches, okay? So after indicating the 1 inch, I'll slant it back to the bust point like this. So when cutting, I'm going to be cutting through this line. So the shoulder area of the blouse is not going to be too wide. You can contour on both sides. You can do 1 inch on both sides or 0.75 inches on both sides, depending on how wide you want the shoulder area to be, okay? So after doing that, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to try to fold in this dart, okay? If the lines on the shoulder is not sitting together, you can go ahead and just blend everything together. So when you're sewing the two fabric together, one is not going to be shorter than the other one. So after blending, next thing I'll do now is to start placing my measurements. I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. So on the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace this dart of 1 inch. On the blouse length, I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4. After doing that, I'll connect from the chest line to the waistline and from the waistline to the hip line. After doing that, the next thing I'll do is to take my bust dart. So like I mentioned earlier, the distance from my shoulder to my waist in front is 16 inches, while the distance from my shoulder to my waist at my back is 15 inches. So the difference between the two is 1 inch. So I'll be using the 1 inch to take in my dart on the front pattern. So from the bust point, I'll go down by 1 inch. The difference between yours might not be 1 inch, it might be more than 1 inch, it might be 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So measure yourself, okay? So I went down by 1 inch from my bust point. From the side of the bust, I'll connect it in a slant to the bust point. So I'll close this up when cutting. On the side front, I'll go up by 1 inch. This is totally optional, and I'll connect it back to the that leg like this. So I'll be cutting this part out. For the front opening, I'm going to go down from the waist point by 4 inches. So it depends on how open you want the front to be. After doing that, I'm going to come out from the dart leg by 1 inch. So you can determine how wide you want it to be. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'll slant from that point to the point that I came down with like this, and then I'm going to extend it to the button allowance. Next thing I'll do now is to cut. So please pay close attention so you know where to cut. So when cutting the side, you are going to leave a little bit of allowance on the bust area. So after closing your dart up, you can cut it out. So to close the bust dart, I'm going to open up the upper part of the dart. I'm not going to cut it out completely, but I'll cut it close to the end, and then I'm going to cover it up like this. So once you do that, go ahead and pin it or use your masking tape to just hold it down. After doing that, I noticed that the line there shifted a bit. So what I'll do is to adjust it. That is why I left this pattern paper on the side, which I'll be trimming off after adjusting the straight line. So after adjusting it, this is what I have. So what I'll do is to trim off the excess pattern paper, and I'll also trim off the front opening and the neckline. So after cutting, this is what I have. So I'm going to place my tape on the front, and I'll measure the distance from my waist to the length of the blouse. So what I have is 11 inches. I'll be needing this for the front. So we have the two front piece. So for the back, I'll go ahead and start taking my points. Distance from my shoulder to my bust point, 10 inches. Distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, 13 inches. Distance from my shoulder to my waist point at the back is 15 inches. So I placed 15 inches. From the 15 inches, I now place the 11 inches. That is from the waist to the length, because I want the length of the front and the back to match. Okay. After doing that, I went ahead to label the lines. The next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches. I'll indicate the first 7 inches with a dot. On that dot, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll indicate the 1 inch. Next now, this to take the neck width, which is 3 inches, and the neck depth, which is 1.5 inches. But before I take the neck depth, I'll slant from the shoulder slope to the 3 inches neck width, and then I'll go down by 1.5 inches for the neck depth, and I'll connect from the 1.5 inches to the 3 inches neck width like this. After doing that, I'll go down by 7 inches, which is my armhole depth. To get your armhole depth, you are going to divide your bust circumference by 6, and whatever you get, you add 1.5 inches to that measurement. So I went down by the 7.5 inches. I indicated the 7.5 inches with a dot, and then I connected from the shoulder slope to the 7.5 inches, and I ruled a straight line across for my chest line. The next thing I will do is to divide the 7 inches, that is the straight line, into 2, and I'll mark the middle. On the chest line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that with a dot. On the middle point that I have on this straight line, I'll go in by half an inch. I'll connect from the shoulder slope to the half an inch, and from the half an inch to the dot that I have on the chest line like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my waist dart. So I'll take half of my nipple to nipple measurements on the blouse length on the waistline. on the under bust line and on the bust line, and I'll connect the 4 dots into a straight line. On the center back, I'll be going in on the waistline by half an inch. This is because I don't want the back of my blouse to gape. Okay, so I'll contour it like this. I'll connect from the waistline down and from that point to the bust line like this. So I'll take half an inch on both sides of the straight line. After doing that, I'm going to go down on the bust line by 1 inch. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot, so I'll connect from the dot all the way to the waistline on both sides, and on the length of the blouse I'll go up by 4 inches. I'll indicate the 4 inches with a dot. After doing that, I'll connect from the waistline to the 4 inches dot like this. For the shoulder dart, I'll repeat the same thing that I did for the front. I'll divide what I have left on the shoulder, which is 4 inches. I'll mark the middle, which is 2 inches, and I'll connect from there to the dart leg like this. After doing that, I'm going to take 1 inch for my shoulder tightening towards the armhole area, and I'll connect back into the dart leg like this. So I'll be cutting this part out. So I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that with a dot. I'll replace the dart of 1 inch, and I'll replace the half an inch dart on the center back. Okay, so that is 1.5 inches dart. I'll replace that. After doing that, I'm going to place my hip circumference divided by 4 on the blouse length, and then I'll connect from the chest line to the waistline and from the waistline to the hip line. So I'm not adding stitching allowance to the pattern paper. You do that when cutting on your fabric. Okay, so after connecting, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to go up on the blouse length just like I did for the front by 1 inch, and I'll connect back into the that leg like this. Okay, so once you are through with that, you're going to go ahead and cut. So when cutting on your fabric, you're going to be adding your stitching allowance all the way around the pattern paper. On the side, you can do 1 inch, but on the other part that you're going to be joining, you do half an inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut. Please pay close attention so you know where to cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have. So you're going to place them on your fabric folded into 2. The center back is not going to be on fold. Okay, you cut it out and then you join it back. So when cutting, you'll be adding half an inch allowance all the way around, but on the side where you're going to be joining your blouse, you're going to add 1 inch allowance. On other sides, you'll be adding half an inch. Okay, so after cutting, you are now going to join them one after the other. Okay, this is the side of the front and the side of the back, and you can see that they are the same length. So yeah, that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video. Leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.